They stole 47 pieces of my soul, one puppy at a time. For 6 brutal years, I was nothing more than a breathing incubator in a wire cage, watching helplessly as rough hands ripped my babies from my desperate embrace. My name was just a number, breeding female number 23. The concrete beneath my paws was always ice cold. The wire mesh carved permanent scars into my skin. In that warehouse of broken mothers, I learned the cruelest truth. Humans could create darkness so profound that it swallowed hope completely. Every birth was a countdown to heartbreak. Every puppy stolen took a piece of my shattered heart into a world I would never see. For 6 years, I believed this torture was what life meant. I was wrong. What I couldn't know in those darkest moments was that someday, someone would teach me that a heart can break completely and still learn to love again, deeper than ever before. I am Bella. I was born in that warehouse, just like my mother before me, and her mother before her. Beagles, they called my breed. Good for breeding. The man with rough hands always said. Gentle temperament, popular with families. For 6 years, I lived in cage number 23, third row from the left wall. My world measured 3 feet by 4 feet. Wire floor, wire walls, wire ceiling. The only solid thing was the metal food bowl that clanged twice a day when the woman with tired eyes filled it with brown pellets. I knew the sounds of that place like a song I couldn't forget. The hum of fluorescent lights that never turned off. The scrape of metal bowls across concrete. The crying of mothers when their babies were taken away. The silence that followed, heavy as stones. The man with rough hands. I learned his name was Frank. He owned dozens of us. Labradors, golden retriever, German shepherds, bulldogs. We were arranged in rows like crops in a field. Frank would walk between us, checking our bellies, writing numbers on clipboards. This one's ready, he'd say, pointing at swollen mothers. This one's past her prime. I was never past my prime. Season after season, year after year, I carried life inside me. Puppies came, nursed for exactly 6 weeks, then disappeared into the hands of strangers. I counted them all. Ruby, Max, Charlie, Luna, Daisy. 47 names I whispered in the dark. 47 faces I memorized before they vanished forever. Each time they took one, I would press my nose against the wire until it bled, trying to catch one last scent, one final goodbye they never let me give. The woman with tired eyes, Sarah. She was Frank's daughter. Sometimes, when Frank wasn't looking, she would linger by my cage. "I'm sorry, girl," she'd whisper, her voice breaking. "This isn't right." But sorry didn't open cages. Sorry didn't bring my babies back. Sorry didn't heal the emptiness that grew larger with each stolen child. I learned to measure time by my pregnancies. Spring puppies, summer puppies, fall puppies. Winter was hardest. No insulation, just space heaters that barely cut through the cold. Some mothers lost their litters to the chill. I held my babies closer those nights, sharing what little warmth my broken body could give, knowing it might not be enough. I was lucky, Frank said. Hardy stock. But luck, I discovered, was a word that meant different things to different creatures. Then one day in late autumn, the sounds changed. It started with raised voices outside the warehouse. Frank shouting at men in uniforms. Sarah crying, different tears than usual. Not tired tears, but frightened ones. Car door slamming. Radio static. The scrape of boots on gravel. Animal control. One uniform said, "We have a warrant." I had never seen Frank afraid before. His hands shook as he waved papers. "Everything's legal," he kept saying. "I have licenses." I follow regulations. But the woman in the blue uniform, Officer Martinez, I heard. She walked slowly between our rows, her face growing harder with each step. She stopped at my cage, crouched down, met my eyes. "How long have you been here, girl?" she asked softly. I couldn't tell her it was forever. I couldn't tell her about 47 puppies. I couldn't tell her how my body ached from constant pregnancy, how my heart ached from constant loss. But something in her eyes said she already knew. The inspection took 3 hours. I watched Officer Martinez take photographs, make notes, speak into her radio with words I didn't understand, but tone I did. Disgust, anger, determination. Overcrowding, she listed. Inadequate veterinary care. Wire flooring causing injury. Lack of exercise space. Breeding females too frequently. Frank's voice got smaller with each violation. Sarah stopped crying and started nodding. I told him, she whispered to Officer Martinez. I told him this was wrong. That night, for the first time in 6 years, the warehouse was quiet. No radio playing Frank's country music. No sound of his boots checking cages at midnight. Just us, together in the dark, sensing that change was coming like animals sense storms. Over the following weeks, everything unraveled slowly, then all at once. Inspectors returned. Veterinarians examined us one by one. This one's arthritic, they'd say. This one has mammary tumors. This one's been overbred. I was one of the overbred ones. Sarah started spending more time in the warehouse, bringing blankets, better food, toys we didn't know how to use. I'm sorry, she kept saying, her voice raw with guilt. I should have done something sooner. I should have been braver. The younger dogs were the first to leave, adopted quickly by families wanting healthy pets. The middle-aged ones went to breed-specific rescues. Then came the day Officer Martinez returned for us older ones, the damaged ones, the difficult-to-place ones. There's a sanctuary, she explained to Sarah. They specialize in retired breeding dogs. She'll have space to run, other dogs to socialize with, a real bed, medical care. Sarah knelt by my cage one last time. I hope you can forgive us, she whispered, tears falling onto my paws. I hope someday you'll understand that some of us tried to love you, even when we couldn't save you. I couldn't tell her that forgiveness wasn't something I understood yet. I only understood survival, pregnancy loss. But as Officer Martinez gently lifted me from the cage that had been my world, I felt something I had no name for. Hope, maybe, or curiosity about what lay beyond wire walls. The sanctuary was everything the warehouse wasn't. Green grass instead of concrete, soft beds instead of wire floors, windows with sunlight streaming through, and silence that meant peace instead of despair. But I was shattered inside. For 3 weeks, I wouldn't leave the corner of my kennel run. I had forgotten how to trust space, how to believe in kindness. The other retired mothers, Duchess, an old Labrador with cloudy eyes, and Honey, a spaniel mix who'd lost count of her own babies. They tried to show me it was safe. Look, Duchess would demonstrate, rolling in the grass with movements that spoke of hard-won freedom. No one stops you. No one takes anything away. But I was too broken to believe. My body had been a machine for so long that I didn't know how to just be. Dr. Emily, the sanctuary director, would sit outside my kennel every morning with her coffee, speaking to me in soft tones about nothing and everything. Take your time, Bella, she'd say. You've earned the right to go slow. You've earned the right to heal. But it was the children who shattered my walls completely. Dr. Emily's twins, Jake and Sophie, 8 years old with eyes full of innocence I'd forgotten existed. They would visit after school, moving with a gentleness that told me they understood fragility. They'd sit by my fence and read books aloud. Not to me, but near me, as if my presence was a gift rather than a burden. "Mom says you had lots of babies," Sophie said one afternoon, her voice careful and small. "Were you scared when they took them away?" For the first time in 6 years, I moved closer to a human voluntarily. Something in her question, not pity, but understanding, called to the mother in me that I thought had died. "I would be scared," Jake added, his 8-year-old voice carrying wisdom beyond his years. "But you don't have to be scared anymore. No one's going to take anything from you ever again. We promise." That night, I dreamed of my 47 puppies. But for the first time, the dream wasn't a nightmare. In it, they were grown, happy, playing in yards like this one. They had names their families gave them, beds to sleep in, children who loved them. And somehow, in the dream, they remembered me not as the mother who couldn't protect them, but as the mother who had loved them completely in the brief time we had. The next morning, I took my first step onto grass in 6 years. Dr. Emily cried when she saw me, tears I recognized as pure joy. "Look at you, brave girl," she whispered, and for the first time, I believed I might actually be brave. Over the following months, I learned what it meant to be cherished instead of used. I learned that food came with love, not just sustenance. I learned that humans could touch with healing instead of taking. I learned that my body could rest, that my heart could slowly knit itself back together. But the moment that changed everything, the moment that taught me what my broken heart had been saving itself for, came on a Tuesday afternoon when Jake fell off his bicycle. I was lying in my favorite spot under the oak tree, finally able to enjoy sunshine without fear, when I heard him crying. Not the sharp cry of scraped knees, but the deep, soul-wrenching sobs of a child who felt alone and afraid. His knee was bleeding, his bike chain was broken, his sister was at piano lessons, and Dr. Emily was in town. Every survival instinct I developed screamed at me to stay safe, to stay distant, to protect what little trust I'd rebuilt. Don't get involved. Don't risk your heart again. Don't let anyone need you, because needing leads to losing. But as I watched this little boy, who had read to me for months, who had promised I was safe, who had never asked for anything in return, cry alone in the golden afternoon light, something deeper than instinct took over. Something that remembered what it meant to be a mother. I had never comforted a human child before. I had only watched my own babies be carried away before I could truly know them. But as I approached Jake on trembling legs, as I gently pressed my body against his small, shaking form, I realized this was what my maternal heart had been broken open for. Not to close forever, but to love bigger, deeper, differently. "Bella," Jake whispered through his tears, his small hands tentatively touching my fur. "You came to help me?" I settled fully beside him, letting him bury his face in my neck, feeling his tears soak into my coat. For the first time in my life, someone needed me. Not my body, not my ability to produce, but me. My comfort, my presence, my love. "You're so warm," he whispered, his voice muffled against my fur. "Thank you for staying with me. Thank you for choosing me." We stayed there as the sun moved across the sky. This broken boy and this broken mother, healing each other in ways neither of us fully understood. When Dr. Emily found us hours later, Jake was reading his homework aloud while I listened, both of us peaceful in a way that spoke of something sacred. "Oh, Bella," Dr. Emily said softly, tears streaming down her face. "You've found your purpose, haven't you? You've found your way back to being a mother." And I understood then that I had never stopped being a mother. Not when my babies were taken. Not when my heart was shattered. Not when I forgot how to trust. Motherhood isn't about the children you birth. It's about the love you choose to give again and again, even after the world has broken you. I had been a factory for producing puppies. But finally, I was a mother. Humans forget that love doesn't always look the way they expect it to. They think maternal love should be perfect from the start, natural and effortless. They don't realize that sometimes we learn to love by first learning to heal. Sometimes the deepest mothering comes not from our own flesh and blood, but from recognizing need in another's eyes and choosing to answer it. Jake and Sophie are teenagers now. I've been with this family for 4 years, and my body shows the wear of my early life. Arthritis in my hips, scars on my belly, gray around my muzzle. But my heart has grown stronger and more expansive with each day. I never found my 47 puppies, but I found something perhaps even more profound. I found that motherhood isn't about blood or biology. It's about presence. It's about showing up when someone needs you, staying close when they're afraid, offering comfort without expecting anything in return. Dr. Emily says I'm a therapy dog. Now, though I have no official training, children come to the sanctuary. Kids from difficult homes, kids who have been hurt, kids who don't trust easily. Somehow, they sense in me a kindness that understands suffering without judgment, healing that comes from the other side of brokenness. She knows. I hear the counselors say. She knows what it's like to survive and then choose to love again. But I know something they don't. I know that survival is just the beginning. The real miracle is learning to thrive, to trust, to love again after you thought love was impossible. The real miracle is discovering that our broken places can become the very spaces where the most beautiful healing happens. Sometimes late at night, I still dream of cages and concrete. But I wake up to soft beds and warm hands, to children's laughter and the safety of being wanted rather than used. I wake up to the knowledge that every day I comfort a frightened child, I'm honoring the memory of my own babies. Not by staying broken, but by becoming whole enough to love again. This is what healing looks like. Not forgetting the pain, but transforming it into something that can help others heal too. Thank you so much for joining me in Bella's journey today. If Bella's story touched your heart, please consider hitting that subscribe button and the notification bell. It helps us share more inspiring stories that celebrate the unbreakable bonds between humans and animals. Your support means everything to our community of animal lovers. Remember, every rescue creates a ripple effect of love. Every second chance changes 2 lives forever.